on the SOP. So it was APNU, Mr. Lowenfield called the 242, Ms. Parag would say APNU 192. He proceeds on to the next party.
So, pause. So, Ms. Parag was calling the numbers. Now, there were other party agents there with SOPs.
That is correct.
Did any other party agent there disagree with the numbers being called by Ms. Parag?
No, they did not agree. In fact, they agreed with the number that Ms. Parag was calling with.
Did you see the then leader of the opposition in the room at that time?
He came around minutes to 4 p.m. that afternoon.
And did he make a request of the CEO?
Yes, he did. The then opposition leader was Dr. Bharat Jagdeo, and he asked for the tabulation to revert to the SOP versus SOP.
And what did the CEO say to him?
The CEO did say that he was going to come back with a decision on the way forward with respect to that. And further, Mr. Jagdeo also suggested that they use a projector to show everyone in the room what was being inputted into the GCOM spreadsheet as well.
Sure. Now, you told us earlier that one of the observer missions was from the Guyana Bar Association.
That is correct.
Did you see any member of the Guyana Bar Association there at that point?
Yes, I did. At that point, it was Mr. Tenny Husty. He was the observer from the Bar Association that was not far away from me.
Sure. And did Mr. Husty say or do anything?
Yes, Mr. Husty was very clear in pointing out what the law stated with respect to tabulation and the use of the SOP for in front of all the named agencies or stakeholders that were listed within that law. And he appealed to Mr. Lowenfield to obey the law by having the SOP being used as part of the tabulation process.
Just a second. Commissioner has a question.
You are, all these events relate to events of the 4th of March.
That is correct. We're at around 4 p.m. right now on the 4th of March.
Thank you.
What was the CEO's response to Mr. Husty?
He at that point he thought Mr. Husty was a member of a political party, but he did acknowledge that of what Mr. Husty was saying, but he reverted to he has to go make a decision and come back.
Okay. And was Mr. Husty wearing his identification at the time?
I can't recall if he did, but he was just right behind me.
Did he identify himself?
Yes, he did.
As a member of the Guyana Bar Association?
Yes, he did.
So, shortly after 4 o'clock, the CEO and DCO left the room?
Yes, it did.
And at about, well, at 5:48, did they return to the tabulation room?
Yes, both of them did return to the tabulation room.
So, I just want to ask you this. So from 8:32 on the night of the 3rd to 5:48 p.m., had the RO come into the tabulation room to continue the verification process?
He did not at any point in time within that period.
Had any explanation been given for his non-appearance during that period of time?
Absolutely none was given.
So let's go back. So let's go back to 5:48. The CEO and the DCO came to the tabulation room. Did the CEO make an announcement at that point in time?
Yes, he did. He announced that they will revert to the tabulation process by using the SOPs that GCOM had in their possession.
And did he say anything else about the process?
And he said that the process will continue well into the night for as long as it took to complete the process.
And did he say anything in relation to discrepancies? What would happen if any arose?
Correct. If there were any discrepancies, he mentioned that they would address it right there and then.
Did the process resume?
The process resumed, yes it did. I'm trying to recall if I got the time in on it, but it did resume. With the same 2 staff, basically, that was there from since 2 p.m. Ms. Bowman and the other GCOM.
Sure. And did you take photographs of this?
Yes, I did.
These photographs of, you took photographs of what?
I took photographs of them calling from the SOPs, the two GCOM staff, and videos as well.
Did they begin calling from box 4001?
Correct. When the SOPs were brought into the room to use as part of the tabulation, they started the process over and did not continue from where they left off from the number 21 box. They went back to 4001.
Sure. Chairman, I am just getting 4001.
Okay.
Yes.
This
I'm
is
just
very-
getting a bit of a feedback. I'm wondering if this is the case with what is with everybody else. Could I have some indication when the
Yes, I'm getting
witnesses?
feedback.
Could whoever is responsible for the sound try to address the problem? So they started with 4001, and when they started with 4001, they were calling from the SOPs.
That is correct.
And were their numbers from their SOPs matching the numbers from the SOPs in the possession of party agents?
It was a perfect match. There were absolutely no discrepancy. In fact, the same numbers, the same boxes that they had called up previously from the spreadsheet, there was a vast difference. So the spreadsheet was completely separate with different numbers, but the SOPs bore identical numbers to the SOPs that all the parties had in their possession.
You know, I forgot to ask you this. What became of that spreadsheet? Who took it? Who took possession of it?
The last that I knew, Mr. Lowenfield had that spreadsheet in his hands before he left the room.
At 7:30 that night, did GCOM staff do or say anything?
At 7:30, yes, they indicated that they were going to take a break. At that point, there was no senior official of GCOM in the room, so it was just primarily these two junior GCOM staff that announced that a break will be taken, and the break was given. It was supposed to be for 15 minutes, but it went on for an hour.
And did the the verification process resume at 8:35 p.m.?
Yes, it did.
And did it stop at 9 p.m.?
Yes, it did. At 9 p.m., the two GCOM staff made a sudden announcement that they were tired and hungry, and they were going to end the process, the tabulation process.
Did they remain in the room?
They were there because lots of arguments started taking place, basically about whether they because there was a break earlier, and that people wanted to know why is it that they didn't eat or get refreshed during the 1 hour break, and now they're saying that they were hungry. So they remained there for a period of time, and then they subsequently left.
Sure. Did you see the CEO at 9:20 p.m.?
Eventually, he came into the room.
And when he came into the room, did he say anything?
Again, he did not address the issue of what had happened and the sudden halt in the tabulation process.
Okay, so I want to be a little more specific. They left the room and the CEO came into the room. But when he came into the room, were the two people who had been there, were they still there?
Yes, they were still there until the chairman of GCOM came in.
And when he came in, they left?
No, they were still there. Until GCOM chairman came in and she asked for consideration for the two women, and then they subsequently left the room.
I see. So first the CEO came in. Let's look into that aspect of it. When the CEO came in, did anyone bring to his attention that the workers were complaining about being tired and hungry, even though they just had the 1 hour break?
That is correct.
And what did he then say?
Didn't address the problem.
Did he speak to the workers to make an inquiry as to what was their position?
No, he did not.
How long after he came into the room did the commissioner enter the room?
You mean
Sorry, the chairman. I
the
beg your
chairman?
pardon.
Yes. I think it would have been maybe going on to 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. thereabout.
And did the chairman speak to the people in the room?
Yes, she did. She approached and went to the front of the room, which was more on the northern side of the room. And then she appealed for some consideration for the women, particularly one of them who was pregnant at that time, and asked that we just allow them to take their breaks, and
Sure.
that was it.
What did the CEO at any point say, well, okay, these two workers are tired, but I have other personnel at hand who can come into the room?
No, he didn't, but it was the political party that reminded him that he had committed to have the process continue well into the night for as long as it took to complete the tabulation process. And if these two women were tired, in keeping with that commitment of his, that he sourced two other persons from CHICAM, particularly the DROs that they were specifically referencing, to come and to take the place of these two women and continue the process.
When the two women, two GCOM staff left the room, 36 ballot boxes for East Bank Demerara from your records had been ascertained.
That is correct.
And there were 156 SOPs remaining.
For the East Bank, that is correct.
And you have set out that data in your statement based on your records
That is
from
correct.
AMCHAM,
Yes.
correct?
Do you recall who were the people who were making the requests of Mr. Lowenfield that the process continue using DROs?
Yes, I recall a few of them. Mr. Anil Nandalal from the PPP was one of them, including other persons from the PPP.
Who were the other persons?
You had persons like Priya Manichan that was also there and making that request. Mr. Zulfikar Mustafa, who was also from the PPP. Also, you had persons like Mr. Jonathan Yearwood that was also there. Mr. Josh Kanai, who was also one of the leaders for one of the other smaller parties. You had Mr. Bandu from URP that was also making that same request. You had, there was a PRP party. Their leaders were there and they were also making the request as well. So pretty much everyone was making that request from the smaller parties and the PPP for additional or two replacement DROs to come in and continue the process.
Can you tell us, given this wide representation and a request, what was the nature of the response, if any, by the CEO?
There wasn't any indication at first from Mr. Lowenfield that he wanted to go down that path. There was a great hesitancy in bringing in two replacement staff. So the parties continuously kept telling him, let's bring in two other persons to continue the process. It went to the point where they made suggestions and they said that they can even identify persons to come in and sit in as replacement, but Mr. Lowenfield was not willing for that to happen. He wanted specific persons to come in at the day, but it took a long time before, it was just after midnight when he finally relented and agreed to have two replacement persons come in and continue the tabulation process.
And these were DROs?
I do not know for sure that they're DROs, but at that point in time, but subsequently upon inquiries, no.
They were not?
They were not.
Thank you.
What did he say? So this is now 10 o'clock in the night, about 10 o'clock in the night, I would say, on the night of the 4th. Did he give any explanation as to why the RO couldn't come back to continue?
No such explanation was given even up to that point.
After the request was made for replacement staff to be found for the two workers who have been calling the numbers for verification, did Mr. Lowenfield remain in the tabulation room?
He was there up until Mr. Levens was identified as one of the persons to be the replacement staff.
And was Mr. Lowenfield there by himself?
No, Miss Myers was there with him.
And where were they in the room?
For the greater part of that night, even after representations were made for replacement staff to continue the tabulation process, Mr. Lowenfield and Ms. Myers were on the eastern side of the room where you had bags.
Looking at your statement, at 7:30 p.m. that evening, the GCOM staff said there would be a break.
That is correct.
It was not, well, at 9, they
halted the process.
yes. So from 9 to 1:17 a.m., before there was a resumption of any
That
kind.
is correct. And if I may just continue with that question that you asked me, Mr. Lowenfield and Ms. Myers, they were on the eastern side of the building where there were lots of garbage bags containing envelopes with various documents that the presiding officers would have packed, basically, and they were on their mobiles.
Okay. At 1:17 a.m., so this is now into the morning of the 5th of March 2020, the process resumed, correct?
That is correct.
And did the process resume with Mr. Livan?
That is correct.
And what was the process used?
So the process, well, when the two women left, if I may back up a little bit, the SOPs were still on the table in that room. It hadn't been removed. And at 1:17, when Mr. Levins and the other male GCOM staff continued the process, they used the SOPs to continue the verification process, tabulation process.
Apart from, sorry, Chairman, do you?
No.
Apart from Mr. Livan, can you recall how many other GCOM staff members there were?
With him was just one other. Mr. Livans was the one that was calling the numbers out from the SOPs, and his colleague was the one that was inputting it into the spreadsheet that was projected on the screen for everyone to verify that the correct number was being entered into the spreadsheet.
I see. So at this point, there was a projector,
That is
projected
correct.
image in the room.
That is correct.
So after he started calling, after Mr. Livan started calling, could you tell me what, if anything, occurred?
Yes. Within the first few minutes, he was very alert and was going through the process normally. But within very few minutes of his starting, he started to display tiredness, and he started to put his hand on his head. He started to make lots of mistakes in calling the numbers. So he would call in an accurate number and then correct himself by calling what was the right number. And that went on, and the pace suddenly dropped very, very slowly, basically.
And 19 minutes after he began calling, well, how many SOPs did he call in 19 minutes? Can you recall?
Yes, I did. I checked it, and within 19 minutes, Mr. Levins was only able to complete 4 SOPs, basically.
And at the end of this 19 minutes, what did he do?
At the end of the 19 minutes, when he finished the 4th one, he said that, you know what, he's not cut out for this, he's tired, and then he up and left.
And did he take anything with
He
him?
took the flash drive and the laptop.
Did you remain in that tabulation room?
Yes, I did.
And I take it at around 3 a.m. there was a lot of commotion about Mr. Livan being in another room and so on.
That is correct.
And did you go to the other room where he was?
I didn't go into the room, but I left the tabulation room to see what the commotion was all about. So I was within the vicinity, but not exactly into that room.
Were you able to see into the room?
No.
So let's go to 4:35 a.m. This is the morning of the 5th. So, let's see, when did Mr. Livan begin calling these 4 SOPs?
He started at 1:17.
1:17. We are now at 4:35 a.m.
On the 5th.
morning of the 5th. Did you then see the CEO and DCEO?
Correct, primarily the DCO.
And what happened?
So, what I do know happened in that room subsequently, after the commotion on the outside of the tabulation room, was Mr. Levins was brought back into the room, and they projected an image on the screen, tried to verify whether the data was correct or not. And after that entire process, basically, again, Mr. Lowenfield did not address anything per se as to what happened, why it's happening, and anything, if at all, any correction will be made, but proceeded to say that we will resume tabulation at 9 a.m.
Okay, so let's go back a bit. So you said that there was some sort of, something was projected on the screen in the room, and were there figures on the screen?
Yes, there were figures on the screen.
And was anything said about the figures on the screen at that point in time?
At that point in time, the parties contested that the figures that were projected on a spreadsheet that was on the wall, the projector screen, they were altered.
And sorry.
As Ms. Cho took you back, I want to take you back to the 3rd of March. And I want to take you back to the 3rd of March because you told us about frequent breaks, people complaining that they were tired. And this occurred after only a few minutes of tabulation.
Correct.
But on the 3rd of March, the process began at tabulation process began at 9 a.m. And it appears from your statement that the process was continuous from 9 a.m. until 8:32 p.m.
They would have the breaks and lunch in between.
Yes, but nobody complained
Correct.
of being tired
That is
or want
correct.
to sleep or hungry
That is right.
or anything like that.
Correct.
So
It was only from the 4th that started happening.
the capacity to work long hours was established on the 3rd.
That is correct.
And then on the 4th, this problem arose
Correct.
after a few minutes of work.
That is correct.
Thank you.
So I was asking you, when party agents started saying, well, what you put up on the screen seems to have been altered or whatever. What did the CEO say?
He looked at the screen, again, in a bit of a lackluster manner, and then he said he will get from the IT department a copy of the spreadsheet that they would have had with data that was entered into at some point in time. But other than that, did nothing further on it.
Did he ask Mr. Livan what had happened?
No.
And you told us that he said that the process would resume at 9 o'clock that morning,
That is
meaning 9 o'clock on the 5th.
That is correct.
Were you there at 9 o'clock on the 5th?
Yes, I was there at 8 o'clock on the 5th.
Okay. And did the verification process resume at 9 a.m. on the 5th?
It did not.
At that point in time, did you see the returning officer?
No, at that point, no, I did not.
Or did you see the CEO or DCU?
I saw both of them, but not at that point, Mr. Ringo.
Was anyone in the tabulation, was any GCOM staff member in the tabulation room ready to proceed with the verification process?
No, but Ms. Myers came back into the room subsequently. Well, that was the day we had the bomb scare on the 5th. That's around 10 a.m. when the bomb scare took place.
Well, we don't know anything about the bomb scare
Yeah.
from you, so.
So let's take it one thing at a time.
Okay.
I'm asking about a specific time. So at 9 o'clock, Mr. Lowenfield has said that the count is going to resume at 9.
That is correct.
So at 9 you are there, and the returning officer is not there, you told us.
That is correct.
So was there any member of GCOM staff in the tabulation room ready to continue the count?
No.
Now, in your statement, you told us that you saw various members from the diplomatic corps there that morning.
That is correct.
And in particular, you referred to the US ambassador, the British High Commissioner, the head of the EU delegation, the Canadian High Commissioner. I think that's it. And were there other international and local observers there at that time?
Yes, pretty much everyone was present.
So I'm just going to have us move on a little more quickly, all right? So is it correct that at 10:20 you all heard about there being a bomb scare and having to evacuate the building?
That is correct.
Did anyone evacuate?
No, no one moved.
Let me ask, sorry, why did you did not evacuate?
I did not evacuate.
Having heard an announcement from the senior police officer that there was a bomb threat, why didn't you?
So, interestingly, there were lots of chatter in the room, and lots of chatter saying that we can expect a bomb scare, basically, and it's fake, that we should move.
So you felt it was fake?
I
That's why
felt
you
it
did
was
not-
faked, yes.
And clearly, nobody else moved.
Nobody else
As far
moved.
as you were aware.
Correct, no one else moved.
So just to be clear, the diplomatic officials, the British High Commissioner, the EU representative, the US ambassador, the Canadian High Commissioner, none of them left either.
Everyone remained in the
Can
building.
you say if at any time later that day, the next day, the third day, or at any time, was there ever an explosion at the Ashland building?
No, never.
I want to take you to 12:25. This is just after lunch on the 5th. Did you see the DCO?
Yes.
Where?
So she came into the room, the tabulation room, and announced that the tabulation will resume at that point.
Did she say anything else?
She did not say anything further except that we should tidy the room and just be prepared for the tabulation resumption.
Was there?
Sorry.
Sorry.
So between 10:20 a.m., when there was the announcement of the bomb threat, and 12:25, there was a lull, nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
You all just remained in the room.
Everyone's remained in the room.
Ma'am, in fact, from 9 a.m. when the CEO had said the process would resume to 12:25, did any verification take place at all?
None whatsoever, neither was the room prepared for the start of any tabulation.
During that period of time, did you see the returning officer?
No, it was later in the afternoon I saw him.
Was it at 1:30 that you saw him?
That is correct.
Where did you see him?
So Mr. Mingo was seen for the very first time around after 1 p.m. on the day of the 5th of March 2020. And
Pause. So, from what you've told us, is it correct to say from his pausing of the verification process at 8:32 p.m. on the 3rd of March 2020 to 1:30 p.m. on the 5th of March 2020, you had Mr. Mingo had not been in the verification room?
no, yet not.
When he came to the room, did he say anything?
When Mr. Mingo came into the room and we saw him for the first time, our natural assumption
No, tell
was
me
that
what
he was going
speak
to
for
start.
yourself.
Yeah,
Just-
okay. It was my natural assumption that he was going to start the tabulation in keeping with what Ms. Myers had announced just a few minutes earlier. But he didn't come to start the tabulation. He came and announced that he was here to make a declaration.
A declaration of what?
He said he was going to make a declaration of the District 4 results.
Up to this point in time, had the verification and tabulation process for District 4 been completed?
Not at all. From my knowledge, being there from the beginning to the end, Georgetown, North and South Georgetown were still incompleted. 36 SOPs were verified tabulated for East Bank, and East Coast is still to be tabulated, all of East Coast. So the process had not completed at all.
And did he leave the room after this announcement?
He quietly left the room after that announcement.
And did you see him a few minutes after?
I saw him a short time after on the balcony on I think it was the second floor.
And did you hear what he said?
Yes, I did.
What, can you tell us?
Mr. Mingo stood on the balcony with 2 female GCOM staff on either side of him.
Did you recognize any one of them?
Yes, I think one was Miss February. I didn't recognize the second person. And Miss Myers was on the upper level overlooking what Mr. Mingo was doing on the other floor. And he had a paper in his hand and was calling out numbers and for various parties, only that I could not hear those numbers clearly because the room had erupted into very, very loud noises to drown what he was saying. But he took a while and he definitely completed what he was reading.
Was it your understanding that he was declaring the results?
That is correct.
Can AMCHAM say, or is AMCHAM in a position to say how he had come about those results that he was declaring?
No, we cannot say, AMCHAM cannot say, neither can I say how Mr. Mingo came up with the numbers that he was declaring on the 5th of March.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I don't know how long you want me to go at this point because I know we have a certain exercise to complete.
Well, yes, we can take the luncheon break now. When the hearing resumes at 1 p.m., it will resume at the AMCHAM building. Ashby building. I do apologize.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Chairman, I should say that, and I put it on the record because I'm very disappointed that, I'm sorry. Yes, I understand that whilst the summonses had requested that 2 parties be present this morning at 9 o'clock to produce certain documents which are important to the Commission's inquiry, they did not show up, and upon our inquiry we are told that they will be here this afternoon.
Well, we do intend to, as soon as, when we are finished at the Ashby building, we are returning to continue hearing. So if they're
Thank
here,
you.
Ms. Rasul should be available.
yes.
She will be.
Yes. Yeah, I'll be here.
Is that clear?
Yes.